Good afternoon, Futures Brizio here. I know I said I wasn't going to make another video, but just wanted to jump in here really quick. It is 2:15 p.m. on Friday, April 10th. Hope everybody's having a great day and kind of wrapping up the week here. Um, I guess the purpose of the video really quick is just to talk about something I'm going to trial on the currency strength indicator. So if you look above, as I've been talking about on this, using different lengths and trying out different lengths. I've tried the 7 period look back, 10, 14, 21, 34. Um, I'm finding the 7, although it's reactive, it's a little too short. It gives a lot of mixed signals, a little bit too early. I mean, when it nails an early one, it's great, but it does tend to give more false signals. The 10's not really that much different. At the other end of the scale, the 34 is way too long and slow. So right now I'm trialing the 1421, which are very similar, the slight differences. And instead of having two different windows with the indicator displaying twice, I just overlaid the two of them on top of each other, which I kind of like. So that's what you're seeing here. This is the 14 and the 21, and you just go into the indicator settings, and you go to this move to, and you just put in if they were separated, it would say move to existing pane above, and it kind of combines them, and then this is what you see. So that I get both of them on the same scale, and you can see, they're pretty much the same. There's some slight differences. Like this is the 14. It's going to be a little bit more hyperbolic on moves, where the 21 is going to be a little bit more muted. Um, but it still allows me to kind of see the crossovers and see the points where they start to separate, and I don't have to look at two different ones and kind of confuse myself. I'm just looking at two instances of the indicator, but running on the same chart. Okay, and so you know this is pretty good. Now I do have live feed still turned on right here, live data, which again just means that at the extreme right edge during the current candle, which is this is the daily chart, that these lines will continue to move and adjust during the active part of that candle. So if I turn off this candle, it's going to just show you where the daily candle closed yesterday, and it won't update again until today's daily candle closes. All right. So if you turn off the live data, then basically once you see where these lines updated at the end of the day yesterday, you really don't even have to look at it today, because it's not going to change until today's candle closes. But because I have it set on live data, it does fluctuate a little bit. Now, like I said, there still is some potential downside with that, because yes, it could give you an early indication to enter a trade. Um, whether it's a crossover, reversal, or whether it's a continuation trade, it would give you the opportunity to do that maybe a little bit sooner with the live feed, especially on the daily chart. But on the flip side of that, like I said, you could maybe get a signal during the day, during the candle, and then all of a sudden, by the time a few hours goes by, or that candle closes, that signal is gone, and the lines have gone back to being in a position where there is no signal. And I want to kind of point that out, which is one that I took today. And so this one may turn out to be a loser because of that. I think. Yeah, this is the pound Swiss. So as you know, on the stream I took earlier, I took a short on pound Swiss, because earlier we were having these lines kind of point where the Swiss was kind of slicing through these lines here, and so in this case it would be the blue lines slicing through these purple lines. And you can see now that's not really the case. Right now we've got the blue lines kind of just sitting right at one of these lines, and this is the 14. This one up here is the 21. It's nowhere near that one. Now, I think I had it set at the 10 period earlier, so even if I changed this 14 to 10, um, we do get a little bit of a crossover signal right here on the 10. Okay, so we'll have to see, like, does this turn into a false signal? Because this is what I based it on earlier. I took it based off the 10 period look back crossover, which is right here. And you can see it is crossing right here. And the dollar is pointing down, the Swiss is pointing up. But now I change it to the 14, I lose that signal here essentially. And now they're just kind of like lined up right here. So again, guys, this is what I'm talking about. There's always going to be advantages and disadvantages. Now, if ultimately this decides to start coming down, um, like this ends up being like a lower high right here where price came out of here, came up, and we had another pullback, and then price failed to make a new high. And we had basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days of price not being able to get past like this 80 zone right here. And now we're down. Now, where is the market structure? This is where your price action and market structure. So if you consider this to be market structure, then we've broken that area and we probably will go down. Since we didn't make a new high, a lot of people probably say this is the market structure down here, in which case we're just sitting at it and we haven't actually broke it yet, right? Because this low led to a new high. This low did not lead to a new high, so it's technically not valid as a swing low to be breached. However, it could be just, the failure of the price to go higher, right? We have again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, basically 6 days here where the market essentially, well, really 7, 8 days. If you even go back and look at these candles or this one at least, we've had at least a week of price not being able to get through this level here. Okay. Whereas you can see these other pullbacks, they were pretty shallow. Um, and they don't look the way this one does. So ultimately, I don't know if this is going to really be um a good trade or not. I'm going to have to examine it before the market closes today, whether I want to hold these trades through the weekend and just see what happens. But I just wanted to show you the difference again between you know changing these look back periods. So, there's 10 again. If I lower it even further to 7, it's going to look even more dramatic here, right? And I think that's way too noisy. Whoops. So let me go back to 10, right? And there's the 10. And I just think the 10 makes this indicator really noisy because it starts to separate these lines a little too much. And to me, doesn't really give a nice clean look, whereas the 14 does. It kind of keeps these lines a little bit more on top of each other, um, but yet still it shows nice overlap. Like right here, this is like sideways price action where the price is just kind of like chopping around inside of here. And then, here's that corrective move. And then they separate out again right here. And you can go long basically from this candle for this continuation. Okay. Um, and so this is kind of what you have to think about, in terms of whether it's worth the shorter time period or not, because it is going to cause more fault signals and noise on the chart, but it could potentially it will cause more noise on the chart if you make it too small, but you could potentially catch a trade sooner. But at the same time, if you leave it a little bit longer, in this case, 14 as the shortest one, it can help filter out what could turn out to be a bad signal, even if the live data feed is telling you even with the live data feed on, this is still not pointing to a trade here on this instance of the indicator because I have it set at 14. So I'm still kind of a little bit torn on that. But when I back test this for the most part, when there are really impulsive moves and signals, it still gives you a really good entry. Like we got this one right here. We get this down signal right here. Okay. And you can see the candle that it acted on was really this one right here. Right. It was this candle. basically this candle right here. That's realistically the one it gave you. Where if I make this 7, does it give me a signal any quicker? Well, not really. Honestly, not really. Because I mean, if you look, yes, the right here at this candle, um, they're on top of each other, but the separation doesn't happen until the next day. Okay. I mean, it's really close. Okay. So, anyways, so that's just something I have to play around. Now, I could lay a third um, instance of this. I could layer on 7, 14, 21, and have this all on one indicator and have it overlaid on top of that. So, how I would do that is I'd go into the indicators, I'd add the currency strength indicator here again. Now, this is how it defaults displays right here. Obviously, it's kind of messy on the regular chart. And then I would go into here, and you can see right now it's set on 7, and we've got 7 and 21 up there. So let's say I make this 10, or actually, let's make it 14. All right. And then when I do this, and then I'm going to go back into the indicator, and I'm going to say move to existing pane above. And there you go. Now it overlays it on top of the other two. So now we've got the 7, 14, and 21 here. Um, and you can see, like for instance, on this, again, going back to this signal, it doesn't really give us any sooner of an entry. The crossover doesn't really happen until on any of these until we get to here. So is there really a need to show it, as, with 3 instances of the indicator? I don't know. And if we make it a 10, then, it's a little bit tighter with 10. So, I mean, I guess you could go with 10 here. But, so here is where, this could add a little bit of confusion, because we get this crossover right here, but you see the three lines here, which represent the Swiss franc, are all separated. So by the time the dollar crosses over, it's up here. But at least you can see that it's showing weakness at all 3 time periods heading down. Okay. And then here we are again at the current level, where again, we have um, one of the three. Um, this is where we are right now. We've got the Swiss franc heading up. It's crossing over one of these three, which is the 10, of course, the shorter one. That makes sense. But the 14 and the 21 are still up here. So theoretically, there's no long until this crosses through all 3 of them. Okay, like it did, back here, or right here, actually is a really good example, just in the other direction. Okay, so it's something I have to play around with. But if I'm going to do this, I'm going to change the colors on this one, make them all the same, just because it's easier on my eyes. The blue line I'll leave the same, because that's the opposite candle. So I just want to keep all those the same, but I want to keep, both sides of the coin, kind of all the same color. So we do that. And well, there's slight shade differences, but it's close enough. And then we see what the difference is, because I don't care by looking at it which one is which. I only care about the fact that um, it's showing all 3 of them. So all right, um, hold on one sec for me, guys. I'll be right back. I'm so sorry about that, guys. It's so low rent on a live stream, but I couldn't pause it. So So I had to just, I had somebody at the door. I had to just go take care of something because my wife is not here. Um, yeah, so that is that. So I'm gonna continue to play around with this. I think the 7 is definitely too short. There's not a big difference between the 10 and the 14, but it does provide a little bit more filtration, and given that, maybe I wouldn't have taken this US dollar Swiss trade today because it's not really showing that there's a signal here because I would be waiting for this to cross through all three. Uh, I'd be waiting for the Swiss to cross through all three on this, especially since we're talking about a reversal trade because this was going up. So this could end up, if next week we see the Swiss franc lines bend down and the dollar ones bend back up again, this would be a nice continuation trade to the upside rather than, a downside move. So we'll have to see how it shakes out next week. Um, I'm going to, kind of just continue to monitor and look at this and see what I want to do. But I wanted to just point this out that this is another way that you can use the same instance of the same indicator, just with different settings overlaid on each other here in TradingView, especially if it's an oscillator or a separate window, the way this is. So I could do the same thing with the stochastic RSI. I could combine a second one down here, like if I wanted to do. See if I go to stochastic RSI right here. Okay, so this defaults to this is the default setting 331414, whereas I've got 3355. And I could just do this. I can move to existing pane above, and you can see it overlays both of them on top of each other. Okay. Uh, and you could do that too. Now, in this case, I don't want to do that. I'm okay with just the one instance of this, but that's how you can do that, and it's a neat little trick in TradingView that I don't know if everybody knows about, and I really I wasn't going to do it because at first I thought if I was going to use more than one of these, I'd like to see them separated. But the more I look at it, the more I think this is a better way to do this, where you know, you can kind of see the separation. The only thing is I don't want to get confusion from like stuff like this where the lines overlap like this, moving down. Okay, because we had a bullish signal right here, but you can see the market's going sideways, so that's why we get all this confusing price action. But they're both going down, which I tend to ignore these type of signals anyways. In the end, it might actually be helpful. So all right. Yeah, quick live stream on that, guys, in terms of where my trades are at. Um, Things have turned a little bit ugly on a couple of trades this afternoon. Well, actually, no, mostly just Kiwi Swiss is still in loss and dollar Swiss is still in loss. My pound US dollar is pretty much sitting at break even. I'm in a little bit of profit on the pound CAD. I'm still in profit on Aussie dollar, euro dollar, and Aussie yen. So it's not too bad. It's just the one that's I'm taking the hit on right now is dollar Swiss. So I'm probably going to close that going into the weekend. I'm probably going to close pound US dollar. Kiwi Swiss, I need to look at it. So in fact, let's take a quick look at Kiwi Swiss using this method and let's see where we're at. So Kiwi Swiss here, again, we have the Kiwi punching through here and strengthening. What's causing the pullback and the drawdown in this is, of course, today the New Zealand dollar is, which are the purple lines, are weakening today, and the Swiss franc is strengthening. So the question is going to be, are we going to see another cross back over where this just ends up being like a fault signal? It doesn't. The one good thing about this indicator, this doesn't happen very often, where you get these lines compressing together, crossing through like this. Well, not even compressing because we just started doing this, where you get a sharp cut through like this, and really bullish price action in this case. These don't end up usually being false signals. Now it could just be it's just a pullback, right? So you had the initial run up, market pulls back, and then at some point these turn and go back the LOA again, and the uptrend continues. Because we didn't have that. Let's all the way down here on any of these bullish candles, which is why this is such a nice indicator. if you look all the way down here, there was some big bullish candles that formed here, like this one, this one, this one. But if we look at the indicator in all those instances, there was no break. There was no of these purple lines punching, and slicing through all the way to the other side of the blue lines. Okay, so none of these signals would have been valid anyways, but now we have it, and so could this turn out to be a false signal? Absolutely, absolutely, could turn out to be a false signal, but we'll have to see. And so because of this, I'm going to hold this trade. The Kiwi Swiss doesn't in terms of like pip value and the amount of pips it moves every day is not like, the pound US dollar or the euro, right? It only moves with probably about half the volatility. So ultimately, even if this one turns against me, it's not going to be a huge difference. So it's not going to be a huge loss. So I probably will just hold it. And ultimately, if I get stopped out, I get stopped out. But the dollar Swiss, I may end up cutting that one. Um, and if it turns out it goes in my favor next week, I can always re-enter when this thing shows a better upside move that we don't have right now. And same thing with the pound US dollar. Let's look at that. Pound US dollar looks pretty bullish too. We've got the US dollar pointing straight down. This is slicing through, pretty convincingly. And so I don't know. Do I hold that? I don't know. It's risk for sure. So, but the main point of this video, guys, is just to show you this, and this is how I'm going to run with this indicator right now with these 2 or 3 instances. Maybe I'll leave it with 3, 10, 21, and 14. I think that's a nice spread. It's not too short. It avoids that, basically cutting off the high and the low, the cut off the 7 and cut off the 34 at the high end. No need to have those, but it puts it right fat in the middle and should be a pretty good indicator to use with all 3 of the instances running in one window. So, and it just makes the chart a lot less clutter. I only have to look at one instance of it instead of 3 taking up all the space, and I don't have to deal with it. And honestly, the stochastic RSI I only use for futures. So if I'm looking at forex pairs, I can just scrunch this thing down all the way because I only use, again, this indicator in futures for my grain trades. So I don't look at this at all for forex trading. So, all right. So I'm going to leave it there, guys. Live stream, I know, but check out the video afterwards. If you're just finding it, I hope you have a fantastic weekend. This will be the last video for today. I got to run soon. But I did want to drop this in here and just talk about this. So smash that like button on the way out. Subscribe to the channel. Questions, comments, leave them down below. Talk to you all soon. Have a great weekend. Maybe I'll jump in here Sunday night once the market reopens or pre-market, and we'll just do a quick review of all the pairs and where we're at going into next week. But for now, this will be it. All right. Take care. Take care.